Podcast, episode 24. Who exactly are you going to be when this whole thing is over? Here we are on the precipice of something extraordinary. Yes, it has kind of a flavor of darkness, and yes, we're getting a little tense. And yes, for some reason, we're running out of toilet paper. So why is it going to be extraordinary? Let's think of this global phenomenon that we're going in as a major learning experience for everybody. And some folks are going to be saying, really, what kind of learning experience are we going to have? Well, first thing what I want to do is just take a look at what was going on prior to this neat little pandemic that we're in. So before this was happening, we had things like North Korea and nuclear weapons to worry about, the British and the Brexit issue, U.S.-China trade war, Central America migration problems, tension in the Persian Gulf again, Syrian civil war and migration, the Amazon and Australian major fires, the U.S. stopped supporting the Kurds, weather patterns were changing aggressively and more cyclones, hurricanes, and fires, the impeachment process of the President of the United States. We were getting a lot more tense, a lot more aggravated at work, on the road, and at home. Now, here we are in the middle of a virus outbreak that essentially put everyone back in their homes to figure out how to cope and deal with the virus, but more importantly, how to cope and deal with finances and family. So what does this really mean to all of us? And that's what we're going to talk about. And today, folks, I've got my lovely Laura Lee.
It's your lovey. Hi, guys.
I know it's been a while since she's been on one of these podcasts, and I've been
He's been begging me to get back on here with him. Don't let him fool you.
I feel better when she's on the other side talking to me because you guys are probably tired of hearing my voice anyway. So let's talk about this situation that we're in. I mean, here we are. Folks, by the way, we're sitting on our deck. Behind us is Oak Creek. We've got these gorgeous red rocks. We've got our hummingbirds up in the hummingbird feeders. We got our flowers starting to bloom. We've got our green beans exploding. And just the sound of silence, I think, is really nice. You know, here we are just experiencing life, but with a different twist to it. We're not working.
Well, it's definitely different. It is, and yet again, it's not. It's
Explain.
not, and I will explain. I explained for myself personally because when Bear first started this, he started telling you about all of those things in the world that we believe or think that is happening, and I've got to tell you from a truthful standpoint, there's not many of those things that are happening in the world that I really had any understanding or knowledge about.
So kind of it was like news
truth.
to you?
Yeah, I don't watch the news.
Right.
I do cheat, and I have the social media context of it. I do see a lot of Trump bashing, and or
Politics
bashing Democrats and bashing Republicans and blah blah blah. I saw all that before this coronavirus thing had even came about.
Right.
So all of those things in society I really didn't relate to. So for me, I can just say my own experiences is I know how to work continuously. Every day I need to be doing something. So for me, I had a couple of jobs, and that's what I do. And if I'm not working one job, I'm definitely working the other. And I really like to be doing things.
Keep yourself active. Keep your mind busy.
I think busy. And I think that's with a lot of us. We're always really needing to be on the go. And I think there's many people that are just like me. So like Bear said, we're sitting out here on the deck. We can hear our birds. We've got hummingbirds. We've got little finches. We've got cardinals. You name it, we've got it out here.
Yeah.
We've got the roaring creek behind us. We've got our little
mini gardens.
Our little mini gardens and a little greenhouse up here on the deck. And life is good. And I know that we are fortunate because there are not a lot of people, or I should say there are many people in this world that it has affected deeply at this time.
Right.
Penniless or homeless. And we oftentimes think of that as really being a negative factor in life, yet is it really?
Right.
I notice in my own life right now, I'm reflecting a lot. So what this time has done is it's allowed me...
A little emotional.
Well, it's allowed me time.
which you're not used to.
And the truth is yeah, I spend a lot of time out of myself, and I have spent a lot of time inside myself, and I do a lot of alone time, and I do a lot of different family time, whether it's with my grandchildren, with my daughter, with Bear, my son. I try to kind of spread myself between each one of my family members to make sure that I've touched everybody's life, so I've had my contact. I think that's a mother thing. Mm-hmm. But I gotta tell you, there's been a wide range of emotions that have passed through me. And I think what Bear's trying to get at is, who are we going to become? What does this mean? Because there are so many catastrophes beforehand. What are we doing now to make the experience of this push forward into a new light at the other end of the tunnel? Will we be the same human beings before the pandemic, going back to all those things that Bear stated in the beginning, those social events or catastrophes or things that are going on in the world? Or are we going to be a better human for all of this? In one aspect, I would say it's kind of a conundrum.
Yeah.
And another aspect, I would say, wow, what a beautiful opportunity to go within and see what it is within ourselves that we can change, alter, adjust, and transform.
Right.
And I think that is just, it's really beautiful. But to go back to the homelessness, this is the path to recovery. So I've got 19 years under my belt of being clean from heroin, methadone, mostly opioid addiction, which would always put me into a numbing state. So anytime there was a catastrophic event in this world, understand, for me, it really wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
And yet it was, because I had to prepare for my family. So I was always one of those that was a semi-prepper. I've been that way my whole life.
Right. Like the old days in digging that little trench behind your house, the bomb shelter, and the putting all the canned foods together.
The money and buying different types of foods that I knew would last, so that I could help protect.
So what are you doing now?
Children.
What are you doing now? Did you do any preparation like that?
I did.
Were you buying toilet paper like the rest of the planet?
Probably not in excess like the rest of the planet, but I did. For me, I already had some stash back because that's how I purchase stuff anyways. I see something, I think that there's going to be a validity to it within the next month or two, and so I will purchase ahead of time. So for the next, 3 weeks, maybe even a month, I think I'll be okay.
Yep.
But I've got several members of the family who live in the house, and I know for me, when the pandemic fear started with everybody, I did get a little captivated into it to where I wanted to make sure that my family was going to be taken care of. And I think that's where us as a society, we failed and missed the mark.
Mm-hmm. How so?
Because fear became the writing factor.
Right.
More so than anything else, fear and the not having was, I think, the source of it was bigger fear than the pandemic itself.
Right. We did a couple of podcasts. I've done a couple revolving around this concept of fear in itself. Fear is just the lack of control of what's coming next and not knowing anything. And there's a lot of reasons behind what fear does, but fear dictates everything that we do in our lives because we're always, for some reason, we're afraid of something. There's always something that's making us afraid of something. Commitments, relationships, jobs, whether we have clothes tomorrow, whether we can survive tomorrow, whether we have enough cars tomorrow. Everything's a fear-driven kind of thing. So this pandemic opened up a global can of fear in everybody because nobody knew what it was about. After things have been brought out to the public in the last couple of weeks, now we know kind of where it came from and how it's kind of been about. And do we still have the fear? I mean, we're three weeks into this, almost 4 weeks into this. Do we still have the fear?
For some states, it's even further, it's deeper than that.
Right, because some states...
We're in Arizona, and for Arizona, we didn't get the word until March 31st that, in fact, even my second job had to come to an end. So here I was going on unemployment, and just to kind of backtrack a little bit, in my addiction, I would come across all these life-changing events. Remember, it was like Y2K or whatever those things that were going to happen.
9/11 and all of that stuff, yeah.
Well, 9/11 was a transition period for me, and that was when I thought my world had absolutely ended. And I was kind of convinced that not only did it attack our nation and in New York, but it wasn't a life-changing experience for me because I was locked up and couldn't get out.
Right.
But the Y2K and anything before that, I never have spent that much time within the news or political agendas or anything like that, political arenas, because I was a drug addict.
Right.
So for me, I could care less about what was going on in the world. I needed to care about where my next fix was coming from.
Right.
So that was always my agenda. I always had an agenda.
So then what's your agenda now?
Well, let's kind of reflect that even when I was homeless, and living on the streets or couch surfing from couch to couch, or when I had all these events going on, I was still entrusting within the drugs to make sure that it would coat my thought process and not make me go into an absolute fear state. So even in my addiction, I never did.
Okay.
I can't say that I never did.
You weren't making the global situations
The situation
intense.
was going to be the fact that I needed to fix again.
Yeah.
And I needed to plan for that event.
Right.
Right? So even when I was pregnant with my children, it was like, yeah, that would become a fear factor. So then it was like, okay, so I have to up my dosage on this, that, or the other, and change this concoction and eventually give birth to children. But I had catastrophic events take place. I mean, I was paralyzed, all those different things. Now, this time, in this situation, this is the first time of course, this is the first time I've ever been a global thing to this degree, I would imagine. But I figured it was kind of like, remember 2012 when 2012 came along, and we always, that was going to be the end of the world. So what I did, of course, is I made sure I had plenty of water and I had plenty of stuff, and I always did. So it wasn't like my life changed.
Yep.
I've always been to plan ahead for the catastrophe at hand.
So then where are you at today? What happened? Is it different?
It's extremely different because in this event, not only am I not an addict, but I'm sitting on my deck enjoying beautiful red rocks and listening to these birds. I'm actually listening to them. My family is not in a panic. Life is not ending around me. Are we concerned about the bills and is my business going to end? And all those things have been brought to the forefront of the mind.
They're weighing on you a little bit.
Absolutely. But my life, as I know it in this moment, is peaceful.
Right.
So in this catastrophic event, I am not chaos.
Isn't that nice?
It's almost surreal.
Yeah. It's almost like you could in a moment go, shouldn't I be more fearing this? Shouldn't I be doing something different?
But this is in this moment because I've had to adjust and almost get caught into the web and the trap of everybody else's heightened emotions and their stress and panic. And then you watch the government come through and they're supposed to be sending this money out to everybody who's filed for taxes. And that's, thank goodness, America's finally looking after or attempting, to look after their own. Wow, how cool is that?
Right.
Maybe there's many opportunities out there, and the truth is I'm not really looking for them. I filed for unemployment. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and I don't know what my business will look like when this is over.
But you're not in a panic.
But I'm not panicking. But I've gone through the range of emotions.
Right.
I went through the denial of it.
Yep.
To where I didn't even want to buy toilet paper.
Yep.
And then I went to, the anxiety of it.
Yep.
From people, I'd go into the store after I didn't stock up like I would normally do.
Yep.
And go into the store and there's nothing.
Yeah, the hoarding had happened.
Pack left, so you're buying that.
Yep.
And then anytime you see toilet paper, you're going to grab a pack just because you've got 15 kids that are running around, the area that might need some toilet paper.
Which is kind of odd when we think about global issues, back when the Cold War and even before that, when the nuclear threats that were out.
Did they worry about toilet paper?
No, I'm sure they had their stocks down in their bomb shelters.
Look at that.
But yeah, it's kind of odd that of all the things that kind of set this bizarre country into a frenzy, it was toilet paper. You could put a lot of humor behind that, we're trying to get our shit together.
There's been a lot of memes and stuff that are out there.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of sums it up there.
Right. Well, this is kind of what the podcast, I'm trying to get to with the podcast, is the fact that here we are going through the motions of whatever it is meaning to each individual person in their own place, whatever that place is. Everybody is kind of put into get back home, stay in your home. And what do we do while we're at home? Think about it more in a deeper concept, and this is something that we kind of got to experience a little bit with our spirituality, is the metaphor behind what we're doing is home is what's inside. Go back inside your home, go inside. We're being forced to look inside, inside ourselves. This is giving us an opportunity, not a panic, not a fear, but an opportunity to be able to take the time that we would not have had. This world is all about work now, work hard, work a lot, get money, spend money.
Work harder.
Work harder to spend more money, to get more stuff. And then here we are as an entire globe shutting down, not completely, but, shutting down quite a bit to be able to sit back and go, all right, now what? Let's get out the board games. Let's get together as a family.
Well, and if you're Bear and myself, I've got this addiction to Amazon and Disney movies.
Movie.
So we watch a lot of character movies. We do. We do.
Yeah.
For us, everything is about God. I know for me personally, everything is about God. It's got to be about God because there is truly nothing else. And yet, even in those words, I know that I still buy into the illusion of all this stuff out here.
Right.
I get caught up into everything, and then I'll pull away from it. And I'll feel myself getting tugged back in, and then I'll pull away.
So let's talk about the benefit of what this is for you, for me, for us. What is this doing for us? Or what is it doing specifically for you? The benefits of being here in the quiet of the home, looking inward, looking into yourself. Are you seeing the transitions? Are you getting prepared for when they turn the switch back on and everything is quote unquote back to normal? What are you going to do and who are you going to be when that switch is turned on?
Yeah, I don't think anything will be the same. I don't think there's a part of us or a part of me I will not be the same, because it's important that every day that I'm not the same, although my lifestyle doesn't change too much.
Right.
As far as career moves, I really don't know, and this is the first time that I've had to kind of set my business down and go, you know what, I really don't know what it looks like, and I don't know if it matters. There's a part of me that knows that what I do in the business aspect and the lives of people that I touch, I know matters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there could be anywhere that I wouldn't work.
Right.
And the way that I communicate with people would change, because I like to bring God into the conversations.
Let's go into the human part, go into the spirit part, go into your spirituality. Are you making changes as this is happening? Are you consciously making changes, or are you just kind of riding it out? How's that going?
I think it's more about healing for me, more emotionally healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been through such a wide range of emotions going through this, and going through the anxiety and going through the fear, going through the not worrying about it or until you see the world panic, and then going out in public and thinking, okay, I got to play the game and put this stupid mask on. And then at the end of the day, I'm putting oil on my face because I can't stand wearing the mask, and I wash my hands 14,000 times and my hands are so dry and my skin is peeling. I don't think that the panic that we brought in is necessary. I think that's a lot of what I've had to change over me. Is normally I would go into hyperdrive.
Right.
And I would inevitably try to save every one of my family members.
Right.
No matter what it would cost me.
Right.
And so this time I had to back up a little bit. And it's not like we don't have any food, because we do. If we had to be in here for 2 weeks, we'd figure it out. Because we do have like beans and rice, trust and believe. But I think for me, there's been so much going on in my mind. I went through a severe depression for several days. I'm also, going through a little bit of a detox. And detox for me is like different foods that I might eat. So that would be, more juice or
you're not talking drug detox or addiction detox. This is
it's what I do now
food.
To enhance my body. So I'm
juices
doing a lot
and
more
veggies
of that while I
stuff.
have this open time, to do a little bit more cleaning out of my system. And,
right.
And won't go into depth on that. But for me, that kind of healing is very important. Although I know it's not as important as me going to God.
Right.
My prayers have morphed a little bit when it comes to God and bringing Him into everything. And it's always first thing in the morning when I wake up, the eyes come open, I know where I got to go to God.
What's changed? You're talking it's changed since the virus?
Because I would have, in the very beginning I would have anxieties, and I would have to ask God, please let me see this through your eyes, because I feel like I'm going to get very anxious and I won't be able to sleep.
Right.
Bring something to me that I can see this in another way.
Right. So now what is it? So
whatever dream or whatever would come in, and just gratitude. Now it's just gratitude because I'm not going into that anxiety.
It's kind of like the prayers worked, and now, okay, cool. Now I'm a little bit relaxed. The edge is off. It's almost, check this out. You're going to answer anyway. But is it kind of like what your drugs used to do? You know how you were saying they took the edge off so that you weren't so anxious?
Yeah, God takes my edge off.
God takes your edge off. Isn't that cool?
It's more than cool. When most of the time that I know if I would have been in my old ways, old patterns, addictions, I would not be sitting on my deck talking anything with you.
Right.
Because I'd have to be out there on the hustle.
Yeah.
And the fact is I know there's still people out there that are in the mix and that are still needing to go out there and do their hustle.
So you're remembering the life that used to be.
Life.
Yeah.
I'm constantly going, okay, God, you know, when that was me, because it's still, I have to recognize that every individual person that I see is me. It's
Right.
not like I'm looking at me and them,
Or
it's
an
us and
aspect
them,
of your past, present, and
all of me.
possible future. Yeah. Yeah.
This is all of me. You know,
Yeah.
this is just looking at the all of me. How can I be of service today? You know, there was a guy that was parked up in the one of the top portions of the road, and he, you know, had some physical abilities that weren't like, you know, everybody else. He was having a walker and
Kind
a
of hunched
cane.
over, kind of, you could tell there was a lot of pain involved. Yep.
Yeah, so, you know, we asked him, can we go to town and get you something? And in fact, he didn't want much, but what he did want, we made sure that we went to the stores, and Nick took a couple of stores, and we got what he wanted.
Right.
I think this is a humanitarian time. This is the Great Awakening on a different level. What matters to you? What in you, what in me, what in us will be different? Will the neighbors matter? The person on the side of the road, are they going to matter to you?
Right.
If you know their name or not, will that matter whether you hug somebody?
Yep.
Who are we going to become? Are we going to let fear run us to where human contact will be a thing of the past? Or
Right.
with, you know...
So that brings more of what I was trying to get at for the podcast in general, is where are we going to be when all is said and done? Because we're seeing a lot of people do some really cool stuff for people all over the planet. There's a lot of people that, with the time that they now have, they're coming up with creative things to occupy their time, and a lot of it's very humanitarian. The question I'm trying to get at is, everyone listening to this, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? When we get back and are given that you can go back out and play now, what are you going to do? If you're doing something that's humanitarian today, are you going to shut that off just because you can go back to working and doing the same old grind that you were doing? Yeah. Is that our direction as a species? You know, I constantly see the good, but I also see my mind going into the realistic, you know, that human thing of going, yeah, but I know people. I know the tendencies that people have. People with money, you know what they're going to want to do? They're going to want to go back to getting more money. Why? Because that's what humans tend to do with money. People that are homeless, are they going to be able to change? Is anyone that's struggling, is there a struggling mom with 2 kids that's pregnant and going to be having another kid soon? Are they going to be changing? Are they changing now? I mean, what is going to happen to you as an individual? And I'm talking to the general public. What are you going to do? While you're going through this time, what is it that is in your heart that says, I don't want to just sit here and watch movies and play video games. I want to do something. I want to occupy my time. Yes, you can go out and hike. Yes, you can go out and walk the dogs. Yes, you can do other things. But are you going to do something? And then if you're doing it, if you're now doing it, when everyone gets to go back to business as usual, are you going to go back to business as usual? Or are you going to actually integrate whatever this beautiful humanitarian thing that you're doing, is that going to integrate into your daily routine moving forward? Are you going to be a good human? Were you a good human before? Are you a good human now? And are you going to stay a good human after this pandemic is done and over with? What's your goal? What's your motivation to do something and to change yourself?
And I think if people aren't doing humanitarian efforts, I mean, for me, I'm not out there except for like picking up hitchhikers or seeing who I can assist with, whatever. I mean, humanitarian, yeah, probably very minimal. But this is more about me. How do I feel about me, my connection to God, my soul searching?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is as an individual, as each individual, what do you bring?
A lot of us aren't going out to go help the general public because we're not even supposed to be on the roads.
Right? Some places are in serious lockdown because there's a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing?
How locked down are you?
How locked down inside are you? Not in your house, not without your car driving to your local restaurant. Locked down inside. What's going on emotionally in you? What's going on spiritually in you? What's going on with your ability to communicate with family, friends? Has any of that changed? Have you used Zoom or FaceTime or Skype to keep communicating with those people that you care about? And if so, what are you doing while you're doing it? Are you improving your being and your communication with God? You're communing with God, or just your person itself,
I think the rest
with
of
or without
me
God?
Has backed away from most of the outsource. I've done a couple of public posts on social media, and especially with the business. I mean, to make sure to keep that going as much as it possibly can, I guess. But it's more, I'm showing pictures of, what we're doing, the gardening and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't know. I think this time is just, it's interesting. I get to be in a moment of time where there's absolute chaos, and I get to be peaceful. I get to look at things differently from what I would have once judged so much of, especially with all the controversial stuff going on in the social media.
Right.
And I watch it, I look at it, some of it.
Are you finding that you're caught between the, I'm interested in that, and I really don't want to get interested in that?
I really don't care, yeah.
Yeah?
I do. Stimulus and how's that look. I got to tell you where I really got caught up. Okay, so we'll go back to, this is where I got caught up.
Yep.
At the beginning of our shutdown in Arizona, the day before the shutdown, my son came up with a cough. And it was pretty intense cough. And in fact, it was an overriding intense cough. And it was such a big cough that I felt that's where my panic began.
Right.
Because I wondered if it had hit home.
Yeah.
And because the intention wasn't for this COVID thing, the intention was to always make sure that I'm ahead of the game and helping and assisting the family where they need to heal.
Right.
So I have a bunch of healing herbs for different modalities of the body. And when my son came up with his cough, that's where my fears set in. I was like, oh, wow. This is going to hit home.
Yeah.
And then I've got my grandchildren at home, and do I need to play the game? I'm putting these gloves on, and I'm finding this is ridiculous. Now I'm wearing gloves and face masks, nobody else is. And then, it's like you can see people change. If you're not wearing one, they're scowling at you. And if you are wearing one, the people who aren't wearing them are going, I don't care. No
check this
deal.
out. We recently went to the post office, I don't know, a week ago. Maybe it was 2. I don't know. Me and my brain just can't seem to figure out days anymore. And I'm happy about that. So we go to the post office, and Laura Lee's going into whatever it was. You were just going to go in and check and talk to the people at the front desk. So she's going into the post office, and someone's coming out. This lady coming out has a full mask, gloves, or whatever. She's like, ready to go, buying into the full thing. And Laura Lee grabs for the door, and the lady walks past her, and I'm in the car, and I'm watching this take place, and the lady turns around, and Laura Lee didn't see this, but the lady turns around looking at her like she was the devil. I mean, she was staring her up and down like, what are you doing not wearing a mask and having gloves and doing all this stuff? And I was like, okay, that's cool.
And she was bigger than me, so she opened the door for me, and so I'm just going to walk in.
Yeah.
Casually, don't care.
But that was kind of the battle. I mean, for me, I haven't done anything. I haven't put on gloves. I haven't put on a mask. I haven't worried about anything. I'm hugging people, only people that want to be hugged, and only people that are okay with it. I'm being exactly who I was prior to this, because I don't want it to change me. I'm not going to allow something like this to take over my life. When the fear started happening, I was not denying it. I was understanding it, but not buying into it. I was not allowing my body, my being, my soul, my spirit to be affected by something so trivial. When God is with me, I got nothing to worry about. So for me, it was just like a simple solution. You do your thing, and I'll respect it, but I hope you can respect my thing.
And we see that that's just not the way that people are kind of rolling with
it. And I don't know if anybody's looking at me weird, because everywhere I go, I have my hat on. I'm wide open. I don't put any gloves on. I'm just walking. I'm being me, because that's who I am, I apologize to anybody that it twists and tweaks, but unfortunately, I'm not changing
Besides,
for
if
you.
we get COVID, it's like the e-ticket out of here, man.
Yeah.
That is just super exciting. I don't know if you're that excited about it, but...
So anyway.
Anyways, when we're going through this situation with my son, me and his father are kind of messaging back and forth, and he's sending me some different healing modalities and the herbs that I can put together. And I find myself continuously going to the stores looking for these certain herbs, and he sends them to me.
Right.
And so I've got my son taking these herbs that he absolutely cannot stand, and I have to isolate him in his room, which is not hard
that
to
really
do
of a big
anyway,
deal.
because that's what he does. He's, today's his 21st birthday, whoop whoop. However, his life really didn't change, except for I was forcing zinc down him and hot teas, juniper berries, and different modalities. And within about 4 or 5 days, the cough had ended. But during those 4 or 5 days, I'm watching my grandchildren, and then sneaking in little formulas for them as well, and.
Yeah.
And we have a healthy home.
Yeah.
Nobody in this home is infected. We did go through my son's room. We made him stay outside. We cleaned out.
We did the quarantine kind of thing.
We did the whole quarantine. We made sure. Whether he had it or not, we don't know. when Bear and I have discussed it, we've probably all had it, but nobody really knows. But that cough is what gave me the biggest
The
biggest
heebie-jeebies.
fear. It really did.
Yeah.
You know, we went into that, well, what do we do now, and and how's this going to affect, and so we just continued life as usual. The only thing that had changed is my attention to my son was just a little bit more prominent, and it was with every couple of hours.
So I'm going to make this our closing part. This will be what do you want to tell people about this and the potential for transformation? The potential to make this an epic moment in spirituality, in their life, in their being a good person. Do you have anything to add to it?
In closing...
No, huh?
I've got a ton of stuff in my mind. I mean, in closing, when I look at now that I see some of the political agendas or any of that stuff that I know doesn't make much sense, and I think this might be coming out a little bit different than we'd expected it to. You know, I don't think we're going to lose all the internet, and the crisis isn't going to go down like that, and, you know, we're all going to come out of this pretty clean. I think if we come out of it a little too clean, that we will all go back to being
the way it was.
The way it was.
So you mean you're saying more pain might be better?
No, not more pain would do us better, but while we are in this motion of taking our time and mandated to our homes for the most part, not martial law, but
cleaning up the home, so to speak.
This is the time for spring cleaning. You're not only you cleaning out your house and the things that you don't need and get rid of. I mean, isn't that what this is about?
The internal.
Going inside, cleaning out everything that no longer serves you, physically, emotionally, trying to clean out your mind. What's in there that doesn't
What's the
belong?
baggage?
Yeah, what's the stuff that is a trigger for you? What makes you still continue to use, even though maybe you're not using now? Are there still things in your mind that you think about that have a feeling that are attached to it? And if there is a feeling attached to something that triggers you, what did that come from?
What's the belief behind it?
Yeah, to go in and look and bust out the vacuum and the cleaning gear and get busy. You know, if God's not your thing, then what is your thing? Find something that is a higher concept of consciousness than you can possibly be, because of our own accord, we are a dangerous species.
Yeah.
Of our own accord, we have really twisted, sick ideas.
Yep.
So unless we're centered and grounded and clean out the trash, you know, we start having garbage pile up around us. So this is the great clean out.
They're saying that they, meaning feral vending, no. They, that's a markup for the feral vending company, which only Vermonters are going to know what that means. So anyway, folks out there are saying the reason 2020 is here and the reason this is happening is because 2020 has given us better vision, right? 2020 eyesight. What are we going to be able to see in this year? What kind of changes and transformations are going to happen? And shouldn't we be able to be more clear with what we're seeing, not with our eyes, but with our heart? And maybe our spirit and our soul, maybe we're starting to see things a little differently. What really is important to us? You know, taking that vacuum, cleaning out the things that are not important. The priority list has to be, whatever order you need it to be, those things that are critical for happiness should be the top 10 things on your priority list.
But that happy list needs to be about you. It
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
need to be about somebody else.
Exactly.
Not that they make me happy, or I'm only happy when they're in my presence, or if they
or having
were
that
around.
stuff makes me happy. Yeah.
Or that thing that I don't want to get rid of, that I never see anymore, can't go
Right.
to the trash because it's valuable.
Think
What
about
are we
this.
doing?
Think about this. When parents, and I did this too, when parents are raising their kids, they tend to get a lot of toys, as you know, because maybe you never had toys when you were a child and you want your kid to have more. I was part of that problem. But what you would notice is if you take a look and put a kid in a big room and you have toys everywhere and a cardboard box, where do you think the kid's going?
I know where the kid's
To
going.
the cardboard box.
Because my grandchildren just did it the other day.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is, like, look at all the stuff around you and what is really important. Is it having all the stuff, or is it simplifying life and just making it easy, taking it easy, and just, you know, the old saying, keep it simple, stupid. It's like, man, just downsize. Get rid of the stuff, like you're saying, that no longer serves you. And it doesn't have to be stuff. It could be your fears or your anxieties or your addictions, right? This is it, 2020. Make your vision a little more clear. Bring your future
Clear focus.
to now.
Where are you going from here?
Excellent. So guys, when the switch is flipped, where are you going to be with yourself? What are you going to do with yourself and inside yourself?
Springing into motion.
Springing into motion. Nice. I like that. Folks, thank you very much. Another long podcast. Of course, when Laura Lee and I get together, we get to get into some really good conversations. I miss it. I need more. So thank you all very much for being a part of this and listening to us. And maybe you've gotten something out of it. Maybe you've already been there with us doing your own house cleaning. We love you all. We thank you very much for everything that you do, and we appreciate your time and energy. We are always about God first. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. Be safe for those people around you, and may the force be with you.
Are you loving you today?
There you go.
Thank you again for listening in today, folks. Your time and energy is greatly appreciated. Please feel free to download these episodes, favorite them, share them, and even visit my YouTube channel, Yava-Coco Productions, for all the podcast playlists and for some insanely cool videos of my hiking adventures that I do in Sedona. That all helps me to continue to bring you more exciting podcasts and videos, both for healing, spirituality, as well as just kind of amazing videos of Sedona, Arizona. For those of you wanting to dig in a little deeper, maybe you're struggling with some inner issues, or you're in a recovery path from an addiction, or just looking for inspirational discussions about healing, check out all of my podcasts on your favorite podcast players. Titles like Path to Recovery Podcast, Cognitive Awareness with a Touch of God Podcast, Bear Clan's Hiking Sedona Podcast, and yes, I even have one called Star Wars, The Bear Awakens Podcast. We are here to help you, and what we're trying to do is offer you things that can help you for free. Plus, there's entertainment involved with a lot of these anyway. So thank you again.